The school committee meeting of October 8th is now in session. Welcome to the school committee meeting. This hybrid meeting is being recorded and may be accessed by WebEx. The meeting link is on the calendar at burlington.org. No board members are remote. We're all here, so we don't need to worry about this. We're starting later than usual because we had an executive session from 7 to 7:30, and now we're ready for prime time. So please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 5-0. The second item is, the minutes. I skipped the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Any question? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 5-0. Is there anyone here for public participation? No. Online, anyone? No, okay. Student report. Is Rashida on? No? Okay.
Bob, it says building committee.
I just texted Jen.
Oh, all right. I'm just making sure we're in the right WebEx.
Okay, so we'll move on. If she should join, just let me know. We can take it out of order. Subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports? Jeremy?
Just a quick one. So the Recreation Department got the draft of the field report, so we're looking to go through that, I believe, end of November, start to have those priorities out and then coalesce those with what's going on with schools. Also, the Overlook Park grant was received, and it was a little over $1 million, so a lot of good work's going to go up there and making that park more accessible and then rehabilitating that as well. So a lot of exciting stuff going on there. And then the winter catalog is out and should be mid-November to third week of November for signups. As the date gets firmed up, I'll push that out.
Okay, anyone else? Ways and Means, you got anything for us?
Nothing to report today.
Nothing to report, all right, thank you. Other announcements, anyone? Nope. Learning, equity, and thriving. Pigs at the elementary schools. Okay, so here's the situation. The pigs on the common over the summer, there are 4 pigs remaining that the committee, the Sculpture Park Committee, would like to donate 1 to each of our elementary schools. And I believe that they have already checked and the principals would like to have them. Can you back me up on that, Eric? Mm-hmm. And so the question is, are we willing to accept the donation of the 4 pigs, 1 for each elementary school? And if we do, then we will let the Sculpture Park people and the principals figure out who gets what pig and how they place it, protect it, protect the kids from it, not that they bite, because they're ceramic. Yeah, well, partly that, but also, just make sure it's a safe situation for the students as well as the ceramic pigs. So does anyone have any input on that, whether you'd like to?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm not personally in favor of accepting the pigs. I don't think, the Sculpture Park itself is intended to be a self-sustaining subcommittee of the planning board. I know that town meeting appropriated about $20,000 in 2022 to the Sculpture Park, and which leads me to believe that more fundraisers are likely in the future. And I feel like if we accept these sculptures, it puts us in a place where we are going to need to accept more in the future as more fundraisers happen potentially, especially if students are involved. I think the students did a great job on the pigs. I think that they're artistic abilities really shown through on a medium that I think isn't very common, but I just don't know that it's something that we should get involved with or set a standard for. And I think that we should be really careful about just picking this one project to support instead of, supporting all students' artwork, especially at our elementary schools. But that's my thought.
Do other people, I should have asked this question. I didn't ask for motion because what I agreed to do was to have it discussed, and if you want to accept them, someone can make a motion, and if you want more information, we can wait until the next meeting. Barbara LaRue is the person who reached out to me, and she's not available tonight, but she would be available for our next meeting. So my question is, how does everyone feel about it? Do you want to vote on it tonight? Do you want to put it off till the next meeting? It's up to this committee.
I'd like to make a motion to table until Ms. LaRue can come before the committee.
I'll second that.
Okay. Well, there's a motion on the table to postpone. Does anyone want to comment on the motion?
Again, I kind of think it gives us a chance, through the chair, to, consider what Megan said, and also do some other research, maybe what other schools have done and whether it's, again, appropriate too, because I kind of agree, we start to do this and then we end up having lots of different animals and things all over that, we're trying to maintain and take care of and keep kids from climbing on and putting fences around. I mean, whatever it is, I think we just need to really be careful.
Through the chair, it was meant to be an advertising campaign, and I feel like we have policies against advertising on school property. And I know other communities, organizations have asked about advertising in different places, and I feel like just because, this is the planning board, we shouldn't just automatically say, a subcommittee of the planning board, we shouldn't just say, oh yeah, let's take it. I think that there's a conflict of interest there for us as a committee with 2 building projects moving forward as well.
Melissa?
It was asked for by the director of art in the district, and the principals said that they were interested in having the pigs. So I don't think we have to accept anything that comes our way if we vote for one thing at one time. And it seems like the schools are asking for it, including the art department. I'm fine with it if the principals are literally asking for it or are interested. I was under the impression that 2 of them are already in the works. Is that accurate, Bob? Yeah.
There's already pigs at Pine Glen.
We still
Still
have to vote. They can't do it without our vote because
they're
it's a
already there?
gift to them.
There's already pigs at Pine Glen.
They're already there?
One is in possession of the science center, so one is already school property.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except technically, they shouldn't be because the school committee has to vote to accept them. I personally have no problem accepting the pigs. I had assumed all the advertising had been removed from them. I didn't think they were coming along with plaques or anything. So if those are questions that we want to have answers to at the next meeting, then we can vote on postponement.
And through the chair, originally the project was the pigs, when they were installed on the common, they were not supposed to have signage or plaques. And then that came after the project was approved by the select board. So it's sort of this get an inch, take a mile approach that I also don't agree with. And I think will put us in a bad place potentially.
Okay, so I would have voted, if we had voted tonight, I would have voted in favor of it. And I guess, Melissa, you also would have. But there are questions with everyone else, so let's vote on the motion to postpone, and we'll ask Barbara to come to the next meeting. So all those in favor of postponing until the next meeting, the decision on the pigs?
Aye.
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 Melissa? I'm going to
No.
vote aye.
Oh, no.
All right, so 4-1 to postpone, not to refuse them, but just to postpone, and we can have our questions answered at the next meeting. Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item is a request for out-of-state travel to attend the 2024 Annual Conference on Advancing School Mental Health. So this is, again, it's permission for out-of-state travel for Ms. Chrissy Concession, Sarah Barnes, and Megan Burke to attend the Advancing School Mental Health Conference in Orlando, Florida, if Orlando is still there. Dates for the annual conference are December 5th through 7th, and the requested time from the district, again, will be the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Ms. Concession will be speaking at the conference. She was a guest speaker. The conference and promoting well-being in school. The cost is roughly around $2,000 per person, and it will be covered by the Curriculum Instruction Office. Dr. Chen and I recommend that the school committee vote on out-of-state travel request for Ms. Concession, Ms. Barnes, Ms. Burke to attend the 2024 Annual Conference on Advancing School Mental Health, December 5th through 7th in Orlando, Florida.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Is there any discussion, any questions? Sounds great to me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Student enrollment, would love to invite up Ms. Robin Miliano,
Hi, Robin.
our Director of Student Information. Just to inform the committee too, Ms. Miliano attended the town meeting where the Fox Hill vote was happening just to answer enrollment questions, and that was on the same day her son was married. So,
The same day?
so I think,
How did you do that? I scooted home. No, everything was over by that point, but it was great.
Dance and then had a laptop.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
so again, Robin, thank you so much for your dedication and for being here. October 1st, for anyone new on the committee, is sort of a special date for us. That's when we have to turn in our enrollments to the state, and what calculates the Chapter 70, the state funding that we get for the following year, is based on our October 1st number. So what typically happens is the first meeting after October 1st, we go through some enrollment figures with the committee just to sort of keep you aware. And that honestly really starts our planning for the 2025-2026 school year, is looking at sort of who we have and what's going on. So really haven't seen, you have the pre-K to 12 view, which, Robin, you produce that report monthly.
Yes.
And so we certainly look at that monthly. And then the report that we've added, and I think, Ms. Massardo, you had asked for some sort of individual class breakouts, and I know elementary class size is an important part of value that this committee shares, so we wanted to give you that different perspective. And then because we have so many enrollment projections being presented through the MSBA, we're sort of tracking where we are in relation to where the MSBA tells us as well. So, Robin, any surprises for you here?
No, no surprises. You know, we are, compared to last year, on our October 1 enrollment, we're down probably about 10 or 12 students. So it sort of goes in line with what we have been told, is that our enrollment is going to start to decline, and so we see that a little bit. I mean, it's only a handful of students, but it's certainly a decline from our October 1 of 2023. And just anecdotally, you know, our office is usually pretty busy the month of September getting new enrollments, and I sort of did a comparison between this year for the month of September and last year for the month of September, and we had significantly fewer enrollments this past September. So, you know, sort of, like I said, going in line with what we're being told, is that our enrollment is sort of going to be going down. I will also be reaching out very soon to Amy Warfield, our town clerk, so to get our anticipated incoming K students. I usually wait until around November to get that list from her, so that we can start looking at what our numbers will be, so that we can plan administratively sort of what kind of enrollment will we have going forward for next year.
And then we did schedule our kindergarten introduction night already, so that's,
Yep.
again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we start sort of looking ahead pretty early, and there's really no surprises in the enrollment. The students that make up the enrollment change all the time, so we're going to be talking about how to support the students that are part of the total number, but the total number seems to be tracking as predicted.
Robin, you were here fairly recently, and we were all wondering how much the numbers would change. Did they change much from your last visit?
Not much at all, Ms. Monaco, not much. I mean, a couple students here or there, because we also had students leave. So we're getting a net of, we're really not increasing, actually. I think that every school is just around, for elementary school, just around 17 students per classroom. That's really where we've been consistently. And so that has not changed. I checked these numbers back, I think I was here maybe the end of August,
Yeah.
right before school started, right as school was starting, and then just did the numbers again. It was a couple of people here or there, but consistent, 17 per class.
No major
average.
developments.
Right.
Anyone have questions for Robin? She came all the way here, at least ask her some questions.
Well, again, the other comment the committee had made is the transition from 8th to 9th, that we were losing a disproportionate, like a higher number of students than we
we're
normally
not.
would, and that is sort of not the case. We've worked more closely with Shawsheen, and we are partnering with them more. Tony McIntosh, the superintendent, is doing more of inviting our 8th graders over. But we've seen a higher percentage of our 8th graders accepted into Shawsheen, which is a very positive thing. So if we have seen any sort of increase, it's just been because of the increase in the students attending Shawsheen, which is great. But we have not seen any sort of mass exodus or any other trend that we're seeing in the enrollment data, moving forward.
Yeah, I worked with Mr. Adebato, and just to sort of get an idea of historically how many students we lose, quote unquote, to private school, and it's really the same. It has not increased at all, really. It's very consistent year over year. The number will change because the class size changes, right? So like right now, we have 289 8th grade students in Marshall Simons, and so we may lose 50 students, but it's proportionate to however many students we have in the class.
So I recently saw the numbers, and I don't know exactly how. I think I asked you, and it seemed like a lot more kids are going to Shawsheen, and that's, as it was just described,
Right.
the relationship has changed, and they're now accepting more of our students.
Exactly. So when I first started in this role, the amount of students that applied, not all the students were getting accepted into Shawsheen, and I do feel like they're accepting almost all of the students who apply. And so we are seeing more go to Shawsheen just because their acceptance rate is higher.
Are there any other schools similar to Shawsheen that any of our students are going to?
No, I mean, for a vocational school, they'll
Yeah.
have to go to Shawsheen unless, of course, there was a program that Shawsheen doesn't
Agricultural
offer. They
program,
might go to,
yeah.
go to the.
Are there any currently?
I don't think we have anybody there
Nobody
currently.
at Minuteman, nobody at Essex?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that. I mean, if we do, it might be one student, but
Yeah.
not a significant amount. And I'm not even sure we have any.
And I looked at the, when I got that list, I looked at the list of kids going to private schools, and for the most part, I mean, there aren't a lot, there were maybe, 10, I don't know. but
10
it-
students, you mean?
Yeah.
Probably a little more than that, but
Somewhere 10, 12,
yeah, I mean, they
15
and they
at the
tend to,
most.
I mean, that tends to be spread out a little bit. I mean, we'll have some students who might go to, like a St. John Prep or something like that, and then we have, sort of the tier that goes to Austin Prep or maybe Arlington Catholic. So
A
we
lot
do.
of hockey players.
Yeah. So we do, I mean, we actually do get a lot of hockey players coming here. They want to play here as well, but those are the consistent private schools that we see. But it's not more than we've seen before.
No, it was a fairly small number. I was surprised because I keep hearing all of our, so many students are leaving, but the truth is, they're going to Shawsheen.
Right.
Or there's a good-sized handful that are going to private schools, but not more than used to be.
Not more than what we typically have.
Yeah. All right, I'm dominating this. Anyone have any questions?
I just have one, I know we dropped kindergarten classes at Francis Wyman and Memorial, and those sizes are on the larger side district-wide. Are we watching and able to add sections next year if need be?
We have the space to add,
Okay.
and then what you would see in the budget request is an ad to do that. So we'll try to keep our class sizes down, and a lot of times principals will make that decision based on sort of the staffing and numbers that they want to see, but we'll do that together. So if you see that in the budget, we would call that restoring back a sort of a homeroom and not necessarily have it be a new position, but we should follow that depending on the numbers that Robin will be getting in the coming months. And then any other sort of surprises that occur. So we watch that class size number very carefully, and so that'll be something that you'll see as part of the budget as well. And Nicole will, we'll always have to add that in. And honestly, if there's a surprise after May, because sometimes we're enrolling students, we have not been bashful about coming back to the committee or making an adjustment or asking you for an adjustment to make sure our class sizes stay where they are. So we have the classroom space for them.
Okay.
And now it would just be depending on what we see.
Any other questions for Robin?
Again, the other enrollment piece that we continue to look at is from our apartment communities where we're seeing students come in at. So we're tracking that very carefully, and that impacts us in a couple ways. It impacts us obviously with our enrollment, and if we're seeing an expansion at Corporate Drive or something, or Lifetime, or any of the sort of the apartment communities, that would impact a particular school. But Bob, we're also sending buses now to parts of town where
Where they never used to go.
where we didn't used to, certainly when we first started. So that might be something that is impacting routes as well, right? Because I know the bus that I rode first day ended up going sort of all the way around South Bedford, coming back through Mall Road, picking up kids on Second Ave, and sort of going back through Third Ave by
Wegmans and then over.
Wegmans,
Yeah,
and
now
so
with Lifetime.
That was again a new route for me.
Yep.
So we're having those impacts as well. Town gets bigger, transportation is more complex, so you guys get that pretty.
Robin, have you seen any unexpected growth from apartments?
No, I think surprisingly, we are seeing some students at the Lifetime, which is on 4th Ave, because the price point is very high, and I think that we were sort of thinking that we wouldn't have as many students. I mean, I don't want to say as many. We have, I think, 6 students from Lifetime, but it seemed like they came all at one time, so it just seemed like all of a sudden we ended up having to provide a bus over there. I mean, there is a bus that goes over to 3rd Ave anyway, or 2nd Ave, but they needed to add for both elementary and for middle school. So it impacts the transportation piece of it, but it's not necessarily, so many students that it's impacting, enrollment.
And then just one last thing, and then we'll let Robin go. Mr. Brooks mentioned a sort of the changing of the zoning potentially for that Mall Road area. Again, that's not an immediate concern, but that would be something probably over the next 20, 30 years. If they add housing there, we would have the capacity for it. It would be someone else would have to deal with that problem. But we're starting again to see some of that, and the consultants that the town is using are looking at the number of students per sort of apartment community as a model for that area moving forward, so they're trying to get a prediction on how many units they're adding and how many students could that possibly add. So those would be some of the questions that we would want to, we have been involved in those conversations. Robin, you spoke to them as well. So, so again, I don't think the housing isn't designed to add significant numbers of students, but we seem to get students from everywhere.
Nicole?
You'd asked how many students we had at Essex. We just have one.
You do? Thank you. Anything else?
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Nice to see you.
You too.
Just as an aside to the committee, every committee is different. How do you like looking at the enrollment data to this level of granularity?
Yes.
Some folks like it, some folks don't. So yes, continue. Okay. Thank you.
At least in October.
Yeah, at least in October. We'll get that.
Okay.
Get trend graph for pictures. I'm a picture guy.
All right, we can work on pictures.
Kidding.
We can do that.
Planning for success and superintendent goals.
All right, we're going to try a do-over. And again, this was not using AI, so not using any
Oh,
intelligence.
so we're old-fashioned.
Any use intelligence at all, some would argue. But it's the document that, again, we had worked on. It is the plan that we have submitted to the Department of Ed. And the challenge with sort of what we have working on is there's rarely anything that is started and completed within the scope of with 1 year. We have lots going on. I did take some things off and added some other things on. But it's a document that Lisa and I really spend a lot of time with and really try to structure our conversations around those 3 pillars of learning, equity, and thriving. So some of the things that I wanted to make sure that we looked at, some of the outcomes, again, are articulated, but some of, I think, where we're really going to be focused on is you're already aware of a pre-K to 12 curriculum review in literacy and mathematics that's ongoing. We have a review of the elementary schedule with focus on program minutes. Again, that is ongoing. Mr. Musselman and I are sort of meeting and trying to hash out some of the foundational aspects of the schedule and look forward to sharing that with a larger group when we have that. My belief is groups of people aren't good at writing things, but they're good at editing things and they're good at commenting on things. So I don't want to just say, here's a schedule or here's a blank slate, create a schedule. I've scheduled for a long time, so let's get some options out to people and then we'll get feedback on that. So we will be including and asking people for feedback. We're really working hard to, with the committee support, to try to create a 3 to 4 week STEM accelerator program for high school juniors, have that be more formalized. And again, Shireen will come out and at some point speak to the committee about what she's working on. Again, expanding the Career Pathways program. We currently have 2 Career Pathways programs at the high school, and many high schools don't have any, so we have 2, and I think they've been very successful, and we're going to try to continue to expand that. The expanding dual enrollment offerings, again, and we did apply for an early college designation. The early college designation, we're not changing the courses at all. They're still dual enrollment courses, but the early college designation, the state potentially has some money to pay for the tuition costs for some of the kids who are earning those college credits while in high school. Part of the challenge with the early college designation is philosophically, I struggle with it a little bit because we offer more dual enrollment courses, more college credit courses than many districts, and have been doing it longer. We incorporate it into our program of studies, so all students have access to those courses. The state in early college programming wants you to identify a cohort of kids early, and then sort of create a pathway for just that cohort of kids. And those kids could be first-time college goers. I mean, all that other stuff would be really important to help the kids get through. But I feel like they all have access to the dual enrollment courses now, and the only thing we would need to change with the early college designation is if any child needs financial support, the district would provide that financial support instead of having state funding to do that. So we're having that argument right now, and hopefully they'll accept Burlington as an early college, as a designee as for early college. We have the students taking these courses. We have the courses, again, already in our program of studies. And if we maybe have to take a step to identify a group of students separately to have access to that funding, that might be something that we need to do as well. But I don't want you to think we're delaying anything with our early college designation or limiting the number of college credits the kids can earn while in high school. It's just it's a different program that we may not qualify for. And again, we've talked about growth scores and a lot of the stuff that Dr. Chen is working on, and she will be presenting at our next meeting and into November with our MCAS scores and our growth scores. And then we're really trying to create more consistent evaluation practices across schools. So we suspended, or we suspended evaluation during COVID. We're just coming back out of COVID. This is our second or third year. We're really trying to make sure all the evaluators are trained, and Lisa, again, has done a great job with that. We're looking at some commonalities in terms of having folks evaluated on the same aspects of performance that are aligned with some of the work that we're doing, obviously, in mathematics and literacy throughout the district. So we're looking for some evaluation alignment. And you should see that work continuing. In terms of equity, there's a annual hiring summary that I believe I shared with the committee, and I went back and maybe I did not, so I have to, did I share that with you all, who we've hired?
No.
No? Okay, so we provided that. I need to do that. I apologize. Who's retired, who we've hired, so I'll send that to you. The We Are Burlington, I believe I did share with you all. That's who our students are. And again, that's something that we provide to every school. And I've also shared it with Mr. Sagarino at Town Hall, just because I think sometimes our classrooms look very different sometimes than some of the other town events or that I attend. Again, our high school DEI instructional coach has started her work, which has been great. If you haven't seen Shannon's interview on BCAT, I would recommend watching that. I think she did a really great job. And then, again, the whole point of the curriculum work that we're doing, that Dr. Chen is overseeing about literacy and mathematics, is to make sure that all of our students are performing well, which is sort of an equity conversation. We are actively trying to expand female enrollment in computer science, and again, it's not for lack of role models. Many of our computer science teachers are very talented women engineers, and we just have to make sure that we're sending right messages, getting more role models in, more mentors in who can encourage young women to participate that. We have a new family and community liaison position, so Gloria Watazik is doing a great job making sure families are feeling welcome and connected and belong. And then we are, again, you guys did a great job. I think the policy manual is something that you should all be proud of in terms of the work that you did.
You did all the work.
I know, but that's all right. I'm giving you credit, Ms. Monaco. And then finally, Thriving really got back to, we're going to do our third annual school climate survey. I believe you all, we'll get data out of the school climate survey. Ms. Concession will present that in terms of different groups of kids, different levels of kids, and you'll get to look at that in comparison. I think, Mr. Brooks, to your point, this will be our third year, so we'll have better trend data than sort of one or two, so I think we can start looking at there. And then the Community Cares, The insurance conversation that we had is we finally got the MOUs approved. Nicole, right, the lawyers all checked those off, so we have the staff hired, so that is actually, we're going to begin seeing students very soon, so we can give you an update on that work, but that was exciting. The Lisa, I believe the counselor they hired is bilingual.
Most definitely, 100%.
So that was really great for us to find someone to help all of our students. The Wellness Committee is again up and running again, and this is a youth risk behavior survey year, so that'll be middle school and high school, and we're working on that proposal currently. We really had talked about expanding the portrait of graduate work that had a lot of activity, again, prior to COVID at the high school level. We really like to now expand that work and have that work come down into the middle school. We're giving Mr. McMahon a chance to get started and get into the year, but I think we're going to talk about having that portrait of graduate work extend into the middle school. Parent Square use, we're seeing a very high use of Parent Square and the ability to reach most of our parents where we hadn't before, and I think the high school situation, the lockdown situation, was a good use of that tool, but we're still looking at where it's most useful and sort of what are the other aspects of that. I think that was good for that for the initial parent communication. But there might be other things that we need to look in for communication that might be more immediate. So it might not be good for everything, is what we're finding, but we'll try to get there. Food service survey and participation numbers, I think in terms of thriving, we talked about food service not in terms of an operational feature, but really a part of the kids' day. Nicole, we met and you met specifically and asked Whitson's for a survey that was supposed to go out.
It's going out this week.
Going out this week. They had promised us surveys in their proposal, and so we wanted to make sure that we saw that. We'll share the results with you all. And then the participation numbers, where they sort of promised in their presentation, they may not be hitting those participation numbers, and so we want real participation numbers.
So they're hitting the participation numbers that the minimum per our contract. I think, was it Megan, you had brought up last time when we were discussing food service about when they first came out and presented in comparable districts and what those participation rates were at. So those were much higher than sort of where we're trending at now. So I think part of the intention of that survey is to help get to the bottom of that and increase those.
Go ahead, Catherine.
While we're talking about food services, again, this was, and maybe not where we want to talk about it, but it kind of resurfaced itself again, parents reaching out, and this was something that was going on even when Elizabeth was in school. Not enough time, but you don't have time to get through the line and then be able to go out and play on the playground, for example. It's like that it takes you so long to get through the line to get your food, and you barely have time to eat, and then you barely have time to, and I know we can't lengthen the day or whatever, but it just, when I grew up, it didn't seem like that was ever an issue, and I don't know why it seems to be an issue when my daughter was in school, and like I said, I've been contacted again recently about that, and people get frustrated because the kids need that time outside or to just get the energy out.
So again, through the chair, Ms. Bond, I think you make the perfect point that all this stuff in relation to what I do is connected, because we have to look at food service, but the length of lunch impacts the elementary schedule, which we're also talking about at one level, and then impacts the math and literacy time that we may have available for that. So everything's always connected, and I think we can try to provide those connections to you all. But in this particular case, I just wanted to say we are listening to you. We are asking for some feedback from parents in regards to the food choices, food services, and then we are going to track participation numbers because we'd like to see that increase. And then I think we also are going to look at some staffing levels as well, because that's also feedback that we've gotten. And what I'd like to do is have a sort of a larger conversation at some point with some data. And then my point to Nicole is I'm very pleased that we are not losing money every year, so I would say that. But my particular goal is not to make money either. So for instance, if we knew we weren't going to lose money, but instead of getting $200,000, we got $100,000 back, but we got better food choices, better staffing, and more efficiency, then that might be something that we can take back to the school committee, where you would all sort of make that decision. The issue that we had for many years in the past is we would have to zero out any debt that we had the prior year before moving forward, and that sort of could potentially be problematic. Again, and then free lunches and state-provided breakfast and lunches also has changed the equation on this as well, and one of you mentioned that last time, Ms. Wojcik, it might have been you. So we will certainly look at that, but we are sort of in the middle of that. The point wasn't to talk about it. The point was to say that's a goal that I have that we're working on, and we'll get you that information. Cell phone practices, again, we had a very brief conversation. I'm getting some messages from parents, and they're hearing things from some of our surrounding high schools. We've had a Middlesex League superintendent's dialogue about what certain schools are doing in terms of limiting access to cell phones. I know, but what I'd like to do is, we're talking about potentially putting together a regional presentation with some folks who do this research for a living. There's certainly a safety aspect of it. I don't want to discount that, but there's also a developmentally appropriate piece to this, and that links into sort of the next thing, where most folks in my field feel like social media got a free pass, meaning that we allowed kids access to social media before really studying the effect of social media on students. And once the genie's out of the bottle, it's really hard to go back. So there are many groups now trying not to replicate that with artificial intelligence, and so the district is in a pilot with MIT and the former commissioner to, I think there were one of 15 districts trying to look at the potential impact of AI on, again, it's not just student academic performance, it's student mental health, it's other aspects of that. So again, I look forward to bringing some of that back to the committee as well. Not asking you to ban cell phones, Mrs. Bonico, but I am asking that we at least talk about what some of the practices are and why we're doing that, and how they can be distracting for certain students at certain times of the day.
Not if they're off.
What?
Not if they're off.
Right, and then you're asking us to do a lot of management there, so I think that's just something that I'd like to have more conversation about, that we're going to move forward with. So again, the plan should be something that you've seen. My goals are sort of ongoing, and we are transitioning a new principal, and I think Mr. McMahon's done a great job. I'm going to ask you to sort of table something later on in the agenda, because I'd like to bring him before the committee to sort of at a future date, but we can talk about that. But and I was sort of working with Dr. Chen on some of these things, and I could put 50 other things down, but I don't know if that's useful either.
Did you get all the way through it?
I did. Well, I didn't get all the way through it, but that's fine. You guys you've read it, and you know the plan.
We can take comments?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone have any comments? Well, don't all rush to your microphones.
I feel like we've talked, I like this format. Last time, I think we also said like possible metrics to consider.
Yeah.
Then when are you going to refine the metrics? Or are we going to choose, then when do we actually compile them?
Well, Ms. Passaro, I think a lot of these outcomes have metrics attached to them. So when we do the school climate survey, for instance, there'll be metrics attached to that. And we can look at that. If there's a trend and we want to see something addressed in terms of that trend, then I can be sort of responsible for directing that. Is that what you mean?
Evidently not.
I mean, yes, I want to see that, but like we just have like a long list of possible metrics to consider, all of which I think are valid. So annual hiring summary is not a metric, right? So what are we saying? Increase representation on the annual hiring summary?
Yes,
Those type of things.
that was the reason for
Okay.
highlighting the,
Right.
who we're hiring.
Okay, so, once the metrics are decided on, they'll be added to the appropriate target month. So are we voting, yes, I think these are all good, and then you'll come back with the appropriate target metrics?
If they're possible to target, I'll certainly put them out there. If I'm getting sort of directions from you all as to areas you'd like to see, if there's a particular, for instance, subgroup of students that is feeling unsafe, you may say to sort of focus on that group of students. We had some dropouts that we looked at, that we shared with you, that we created a day program to try to avoid. I can sort of share that, the trend in dropout information there. It's just the data that I'm sharing, or the metrics that I'm sharing, tend to be pretty global. But I don't want you to think I'm shying away from it. I look at data all the time. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that you all want, because we could spend, there's probably not much going on that I'm not somewhat aware of, and again, it's all fairly connected. So that's why I struggled with having you know, could we look at attendance? We could look at attendance, but I don't know what the impact would be on that.
All right, so you want us to vote to accept.
I think this, for me, is more of a right direction, wrong direction
Yeah, it's
type
the
of
right
thing.
direction.
So if you all are sort of, if I'm going in the right direction and you want to see metrics, I can share them with you. If they're insufficient, if we're not making progress in an area, then I'll
The problem
happily do
with
them.
this is, it's huge.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's-
can't do all that.
I have help doing all of that. I don't teach kids how to read, but we provide the resources so that kids can learn how to read, and Lisa is providing the guidance and the framework
All
to
right,
do
so you
that.
want us to accept these as the general overview of goals, and you're paying attention to everything on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, Superman. Did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't.
I have one more comment if
Go
I.
ahead.
So I think there's items on here that would be considered deliverables, right?
Yep.
Reestablish wellness committee. Yeah, that's a yes or no, or it got completed or not, like all of the literacy reviews. And then there are things that that may or may not yet have metrics attached, this climate survey, the hiring summary, et cetera. So I don't know if you want to format it to say, like, deliverables would just be a list, right? But a metric would be the metric, and then obviously a target, even if it's a target focus area, or I understand that we're not going to say, here's currently at 10% and we're moving the needle to 13%. It's not that straightforward. I get that. But if we're calling them metrics, there should be like at least a target to move,
Okay.
and some measure of did it move or not.
I like the idea of the target focus area. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so like I'm looking at annual hiring summary on here, right? So you're not gonna move every needle, but if we're looking at female representation, BIPOC representation, that would be like an area of focus, and then you'd have the baseline, like September, and then you'd have June, and we can,
Okay.
And I think, Madam Chair, to piggyback on what Melissa's saying is, you know, for those deliverables, for those procedurals, because this is a 3-year plan, making it time-bound, so if you know this document or something you're working is going to take you 2 years, like the curriculum, have milestones throughout those 3 years that say, hey, you know, in year 1, we want to achieve these kind of milestones for the curriculum review, so we have some level of understanding where we're at in the process, and if we're meeting that goal as stated, right? Because 3 years is a very amorphous thing, so if we have some milestones that pick through those, and then for deliverables too, but, you know, we're going to do that in year 1, or 6 months from now, we're going to deliver the procedural kind of thing.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Catherine.
I agree with you, milestones are good, but I also know that even like within our organizations, milestones can be changed because some obstacle came up because I don't want people being judged on not being able to hit an obstacle or being able to hit a goal over, you know, some obstacles out of their control.
No, absolutely, and that
Right.
facilitates communication, right? So like, if we are on target for something, we're not on target, here's why, and it comes back to the committee to go, hey, we need to advocate for a resource to help you. And that's kind of the conversation I'd like to generate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar to my conversations, honestly.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. And I think that you are headed in the right direction. I like the things that I'm seeing. I did want to piggyback earlier on what Catherine had to say about lunch, not to change the subject again, but middle school too. It's not just at the elementary
It's the middle
school.
school
It's the
too,
middle
yeah.
school. It's the shortest lunch. And the kids are really feeling the pressure. So I didn't want to not,
Those are the ones I've been hearing about, too.
so.
Yeah, I didn't mean to specify elementary.
That's okay.
That's kind of, that's what came out of my
It's
mouth.
okay.
I want to throw something in that I don't see on here,
Okay.
that I know you don't feel that it's maybe quite as important as I feel it is.
Okay.
You know where I'm going?
Sure.
You want to pick it up?
No, go ahead, you say, that's fine, I'll do it, go ahead.
Okay, I think it really matters to the community that we do well on evaluations by various publications. And I think that if we looked in advance at the criteria and focused on meeting that criteria to the extent possible, within reason, certainly shouldn't take up anybody's all day, every day. I just think we should pay a little more attention to it so that we will look a little bit better in the rankings.
Okay. I can certainly look at that.
And not to beat a dead horse, but on the cafeteria thing, I think two things have happened. One is the menus have changed in order to make it something that the workers can manage. I think kind of the fancy stuff has gone away, and it's not as appealing as it was. I won't go into a lot of detail on what I think about it, but I just point out that now that the state is paying for the meals, I think it is very unlikely that we would be concerned about deficits. I just think it's not even two different kinds of apples. It's like apples and not even oranges. Let's go with bananas. It's totally different now that the state is paying all that money. So just add that to the mix so that when we evaluate everything, we know what we're looking at.
Again, 100%, that's why it's getting my attention. It's honestly not an expert in it, but I just think this committee should have facts before making those decisions. Whether you want to continue on or change direction is honestly up to this
Absolutely.
committee, but we'll try to present you the most factual, sort of up-to-date information that we have. And there is no perfect, again, school lunch, but we will try to get you the information that you can make those decisions.
I have one other question on this. Jeremy pointed out it's a 3-year plan, but it's already 2 years in, right?
Yeah?
So we're continuing the plan. We
We're gonna-
expand it,
we're
we
gonna
add to
Continue
it.
to work, you've gotten these in sort of 3-year chunks.
Yeah.
Which is what the Department of Ed sort of suggests that we do. We can change that process again if
No,
you'd
I
like,
think it's
so-
great. I just wanted to point out that this isn't the beginning of a 3-year plan.
No.
We're going into a new year on an existing plan.
Yes, and again, it is rare that we start something July 1 and end something June 30th.
Right.
It's just rare that we do that. So, again, we have to make sure we're moving in the right direction, that you're getting enough information that you need to sort of change that direction if necessary, and it takes us a while to accomplish things, and then there are things along the way. So last year, we negotiated 6 contracts. I think that distracted from, again, what did you accomplish? That would be,
A lot.
I guess, it would be, maybe to Melissa's point, a product, but I'm not sure that's a metric would be accomplished, but not necessarily I don't know how to measure that. I think you would have felt if we didn't get it done, but I guess that's what so there's some product, but I'm going to go back and look at the targeted focus area. I think I like that terminology. It's not something I'm too familiar with, but I'll certainly look at that. I think you need data, so I'm trying to figure out what the best data I can provide you all.
Okay, let's have a motion to approve the Planning for Success District Plan.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, we can move on to Journey to Cares.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you guys doing? So if we could, yes, one thing that would be important is for me to share the PowerPoint with him. Please forgive me on that. Mr. Kuna, thank you for your patience.
I tried to text you. I couldn't get
Yes, I know.
Okay.
One second, sorry.
There's a lot here.
Well, Madam Chair, just please, the item G, MSMS requested stipend, I'm going to ask just to table that agenda item. Tim wanted to do this not one at a time, so he's going to be prepared when we come next time just to talk to the committee in general about some of the
Okay.
stipends and after-school programs.
So
we can
we'll
get that
just-
agenda item off. So I'm just going to table that, so we don't need that approval this evening.
You need time, Lisa? Do you want us to do the homeless transportation first?
Should be up in 2 seconds. Sorry, I just have to share this.
Mr. Kuna, this is my fault. Mr. Kuna is just trying to bring it up on there, so it's really up to
There
you.
you go.
Okay. Thank you for your patience.
And then let me just change this view.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. I appreciate you. All right, click, please. Yes, in this picture, we see the champions. As you can see, the school committee are the champions, as you can notice. And I wanted to thank Melissa and Jeremy for also coming with me to the Diwali event in which we were present. There we're getting some Divals 8 training, and on the right-hand side, on the lower right-hand side, is also honoring our heroes at Pine Glen. That's the Heroes Ceremony. Click, please. Again, there you see Kevin McDonough, probably first time really, no, I'm just joking, he's completely without shorts, okay? So he is now the interim assistant principal there. There is Tim McMahon, who is our principal, attended all of the back-to-school nights or open houses. There you see Detective Patrick Lyons. He's leading one of our school safety meetings. And again, in the corner on the right-hand side are our teachers involved back to open house. Click. Again, some more pictures of open house. Another team of a helping versus helping. That's our Burlington district. We had 2 teams going. One was the school committee and one was also our team of teachers. There's Sean Musselman there on the microphone. And then again, another back to school night. There on the left-hand side, we had actually the author of Bookworms, K through 5 or K through 8, come and actually talk to us. And that's one of the literacy curriculum units or books that we're looking at, so that was very rare to actually have the author that we could ask a lot of questions to. Next, please. We have a lot of students. The digital learning coaches are involved, and the librarians, in making sure that our students continue to be moving in computer science for all. And again, this is the LPAC organization in which Carrie Lamprey is involved in, and providing also meeting with our parents there. Next, please. Safety night. This is a night that I invite all of our parents to. Thank you, Melissa Maserado, for also putting this together. This is with all the PTO members. It will be on October 9th from 6:30 to 7:30, beginning at 6 o'clock, correct?
The PTO meet and greet is from 6:30 to 7, and Pat Lyons will go on at 7.
Thank you. It's 7.
Tomorrow, yep.
Tomorrow, and that will be at the BHS auditorium. So we invite as many parents to come and learn as much as can about our standard learning protocol, right? And then the Lunch and Learn series, a virtual series, are taking place, and that is through the Director of Mental Health, Chrissy Concession. And this came from recommendations from our wellness committee. And again, this is Wendy Pavlicek, who is also doing the tour that she does with her students. Next, please. All right, so just some highlights wanted to give to you that DIVLS 8 training with reading specialists, reading tutors, and then interim coordinator of English was hosted by Dr. Gail Lovett. And this is also to let you know that we have about 243 staff to be trained in DIVLS 8 by Dr. Gail Lovett on November 5th. This is going to be very exciting. And then on December 12th, Dr. Gail Lovett will also be training DIVLS 8 to some of our middle school and high school staff and all of our special education teachers at the secondary level, including our ESOL teachers and also our speech pathologists. So everyone is going to be having this training so that everyone can be speaking the same language. Again, attended all open houses and the district safety meeting, and want to really thank Jeremy for always his presence there with the BPS police. Met with the Director of Physical Education and Health to discuss updates on the crossover, the new curriculum standards and health, and just want to let the parents know that as we're going through this process, Amy Doty will also be having a night to go over what the curriculum will be. She'll be sending out those dates. Those dates will be forthcoming. And really, until we move towards the crossover, what you have experienced previously in the curriculum when it comes to family life education or human sexuality will be the same. So there is not going to be any changes until we do the crossover. Met with Dr. Joan Brinkeroff from DESC and the Director of Special Education to discuss forms and updates on our tiered monitoring review. We will have a visit from Dr. Joan Brinkeroff and DESC because this is our year to be engaged in the tiered monitoring review. Next, please. As I showed you in our previous slides. Some of us attended the IAB Diwali event. Wanted to thank those folks who were there. Also, the BHS Inspiration Awards and Pine Glen's Hero Assembly. Again, we're working with Dr. Kateri Thunder on the Algebra 1 committee and met with the elementary principals on the DIVLS 8 data and attended the Literacy Task Force meeting with Dr. Gail Lovett and looking at bookworms. And again, one of the things, just to let people know ahead of time, is that we're really getting together all of our iReady reports. We're hoping to be able to send that letter and those reports to parents probably during the week of October 21st, and then that will be followed with the DIVLS report and a letter to all the parents, grades 1 through 8, and that probably will be during the week of October 28th, but I've been working with the reading specialist, the math specialist, and also the principals and looking at that letter and also looking at the particular data. And our elementary data meetings will be forthcoming during the week of October 15th as we dive into that data. All right, the next slide, please. This is, I just wanted to give you an update. Next slide, please. Thank you. wanted to give you an update of, as we're talking about our curriculum review when it comes to math, and also the adoption of putting in Algebra 1, for instance, in for the year 25-26. These are kind of our non-negotiables when we're looking at multiple pathways of ensuring that more students have access. So Algebra 1 can be completed by every learner by the end of 10th grade. Geometry can be completed by every learner by the end of 10th grade. Taking Algebra 1 in the middle school is an option. Every learner has enough options for 4 years of math courses in high school. Every math standard is taught within BPS math courses and within the school year. So we're not going to be relying on summer school, weekend school, or Russian math. There are options when a student masters the course standard by the end of each course. There are options when a student does not master the course standard by the end of each course. Every course is for every learner. That means that we will address math courses for learners who need modified content later, but again, every course is for every learner, and standards should lead the definition of the course. So these are our guiding principles as we're going through the math curriculum review and as we're taking a look at putting in Algebra 1 in the middle school. So next, please. You guys have seen the slide, but again, I just want to showcase it again, that we're moving along. We are right now taking a look at various pathways. We're now evaluating the pathways. Our next step will be to identify the entrance and exit criteria. And then following that step, we're going to identify the textbook that best needs and aligns what we believe is that pathway. And that is going to be coming up relatively soon. So as you can see, there's a sequence of events, and I will continue to give you updates along where we are in that process. Next, please. This is an example of what we've been talking about when it comes to our literacy task force, and this is where we are when it comes to taking a look at the K-8 core curriculum program selection process. At this point in time, we've developed our lens, and we're taking a look. We have subcommittees. We're number 3. We have subcommittees who are looking at reviewing the 4 curriculum programs. Then we're going to define it to 2, and then we're going to be making a recommendation. So next, please. So if you were to flush this out, this is our timeline. So as you can see, there's been work that we've been doing. We've been very busy on this. We had a meeting with the author of Bookworms. Our next meeting will be taking a look at L education. Following that, in November 7th, we're going to be taking a look at wit and wisdom. Following that, on the 21st, we're going to be looking at Amplify CKLA. And then we're going to be narrowing down to 2 programs and solicit community feedback, including that of parents. And then we'll be hosting on December 11th from 6 to 7:30, in which Gail Lovett will be present, in which we're going to be doing a BPS literacy night. And then on January 23rd, we're going to review the feedback and select a curriculum program, and then we are going to be finalizing that final report, and then we will be presenting it to school committee, and Gail Lovett will be here to do that in person for you guys to vote on that moving towards that curriculum. So as you can see, we're moving along, and these are our dates. All right, next, please. Just wanted to share with you that BPS has been invited to participate in CS for All. This was a consortium in 2018 to provide computer science for all Burlington students. Wanted to thank digital learning coach Jennifer Bullis, who taught students essential skills in the Seesaw learning platform, including how to use the photo, drawing, pen, and eraser tools, and that was that picture that you saw earlier. Next, please. Again, as you saw in the picture earlier, we met with Dr. Sharon Walpole, who is the reading researcher and the author of Bookworms K-5 and Bookworms Middle School, to hear about the curriculum and in order to ask questions. And I want to say that a lot of our teachers asked a lot of poignant questions. She actually comes out from the University of Delaware, And Connecticut has adopted bookworms as like one of the resources to be using for that particular state. So everything that we're taking a look at, 3 out of the 4 have already been approved by DESE, so I just wanted you to know that. The math books, the Math Algebra 1 books will be books that we'll be looking that have already been approved by DESE as well too. The one is still going through the process, so I think we have some great choices to take a look at. The Curriculum Office and Reading Specialist team, we've collaborated to create and identify oral reading fluency instructional routines and supports for classroom teachers. We've created and implemented iReady testing protocols that comes from the math specialist. As you saw in the picture earlier, that was the director of the Science Academy, and also our district coach, Carrie Fortunato. They had attended the DESE STEM networking meeting. Next, please. As you can see, that we held one of the adult ESL classes, and these are being offered to 4 levels of English, offered with over 50 parents, families, and community members. And wanted to thank Gloria Watasik and also Kristen Freak for securing funding and supporting logistics for childcare and transportation. And you saw that in the pictures before. Also, Back to School Night, want to thank everyone who supported our Back to School Nights at both the middle school and elementary levels. A shout out to Shemika Marcellus, Neil Callahan, and Eric Calandreo for supporting Emerson Perez with our Lexikey interpretation across our elementary schools, and this is what allowed more of our parents to be involved and to know what was going on in the Back to School Nights. Next, please. Lots going on when it comes to the Director of Mental Health and also her team. They attended the DESE, SEL, and Social Emotional Integration Grant Kickoff in Devens. The McLean School Consultation Services have started. She has worked closely with Melissa Mazzarata and the PTO. Massardo. I'm so sorry about Italian names. I will continue to practice. I'm so sorry. Work to develop and promote.
I know who you meant. Yeah.
Pardon?
I know who you meant.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Melissa. I will continue to practice your last name. Don't worry, I have hard times with all Italian names. So work to develop and promote the PTO's safety night, in which you are really working hard to ensure that a lot of our parents know about. Again, that is October 9th, and we begin at 6 p.m. Is that correct? 6 p.m.?
6:30.
6:30 in the BHS auditorium. We hope many, many parents will join us. And again, Chrissy Concession worked on developing the BPS Exploration Series. Next, the nursing team has prepped over 50 kits for elementary science classrooms. Also, when the Science and Social Studies Department, the review of the MCAS science assessments with the Assistant Superintendent for Learning, hosted also the Special Education Department, hosted the Teacher Appreciation Night at Fenway. The 240-262 grant is complete and accepted. Next, please. The Landmark Outreach is now in all 5th grade classrooms. The support through the Landmark Outreach Consultant provides professional development for educators with an understanding of components of study skills, which include the management of materials, time, and information. We're continuing work on the DESE state reporting for October 1st, and that is the Director of Student Informations, and that happens to be Robin Milano. Did I say her last name?
Close.
Miliano.
There you go.
Rolled out the instructional assistant evaluations and Vector, met with the MSMS administrative team to provide Aspen support, and she helped to work with the open architects to update the dashboards. Next, on the business and finance team, Nicole Kasha has been hard at work working with the town. She's also attended school business administrator roundtable meetings to collaborate on topics with other districts. She's attended Munis training at town for content management. She's attended the September town meeting to support the Fox Hill building project. And she's also worked with Tyler Technologies to set up implementation issues for absence and substitute management platform. And next, please. And she's also worked on filing financial reports for grants ending in September 30th and conducted interviews for the vacant account payable position, because right now she's about doing two-person job. Next, please, the communications team. This Lauren Angelo has been hard at work on the update for Parent Square, worked with all the principals in putting the student handbooks, making sure they're accessible on public view on the website, continuing to monitor and add changes to bus routes, and all up-to-date information can be found on the district transportation page. Next, please. She's also updated and added translated documents for non-discrimination and harassment and all notices. She's also met with the BPS after-school program staff and Director of After-School Programs, Diane Haverty, to get their staff members trained in Parent Square platform. Next, please. The Human Resource Team. Joanne has worked on enrolled in the Teachers Lounge Job Board, which is a Boston-based organization to connect educators of color. She's provided opportunities for training for the instructional coaches and resources for the BIPOC affinity group through our Teacher Diversification Grant. And the nursing team has worked very hard with a digital learning coach on an opt-out survey, reviewed homebound requests for tutoring documents, edited the district-wide epinephrine training to include FDA newly approved nasal epinephrines. Next, please, the operations team. Bob Kuna has been hard at work with his team on the Fox Hill building project and the building high school building project, attended the district-wide school safety task force, had addressed all maintenance requests throughout the district, ensure the buildings are secured, perform security system maintenance, continue to support for the bus app and the bus routes. Next, please, the technology team configured and employed devices for the new staff, built, cabled, and delivered new carts for Francis Wyman, and planned for future device rotations for staff and students. And finally, as you can see, again, the school committee members are the winners, okay? That's right, they are the winners. They beat everyone. They are the winners. Again, we are one family, one team, and just want to thank everyone for their care and involvement of BPS. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, Lisa. That was an awful lot of work put into that. Yes, we were the winners, and it was fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you again for coming to see us win.
Yeah, for being there, cheering us
Thanks
on.
for cheering us on.
I just wanted to comment that Diwali is a beautiful event. It's just, you know, it's so pretty and so nice. And I also wanted to mention that I was at the Pine Glen Heroes Award assembly, and that was, two of my grandkids dragged me there. But it was really, really exceptional. It was
Yes,
a
and
very nice event.
we also honor Jeremy Brooks, too, because he's also served for us as well, too, and thank you, Jeremy, for that.
Yes. And I have a really funny picture from there that I'll share with you.
Okay.
Is there anything else on Journey to Cares? Okay. Moving on, homeless transportation stipend.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Nicole can help me with the explanation, but the number of families that we are sheltering now and the number of students that are requiring transportation both to Burlington and back to districts where they might have been attending prior to is creating a whole nother transportation issue for us, not the regular transportation that we always talk about. This is sort of specialized transportation. So again, Nicole, if a student gets moved into Burlington and they've been attending Acton Boxborough, they get to go back to Acton Boxborough, and we have to transport them there, and we have to find the transportation. So that's part of McKinney-Vento. We've had people been doing that work for us, but we often get notified very late, and then they're doing the work on weekends and on evenings trying to get the kids into school, and it's really been an unfair burden on them. We do get funding from the state to support students who are homeless, and we're asking you to provide some additional funding for folks to do this work when when they're not typically working, because that's a lot of times when these requests come in. So again, recommending the school committee approve 2 homeless transportation stipends. The stipends will be $10,000 each for a total of $20,000. Again, this is work that takes place after hours, usually on evenings and weekends. It'll be for our clerical support folks, and it'll be funded through the homeless, some of the funding that we get from the state that we get for homeless students. If the homeless problem goes away, then I'm assuming these stipends would go away. But right now, it's not even a transportation situation that they have to solve once. It ends up being a very dynamic situation, and they're oftentimes, even a few students are very labor intensive to try to get them back and forth to school.
Questions, comments, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the committee approve a stipend for homeless transportation, the amount of $10,000 for each employee to total amount of $20,000.
Second?
Is that how it works? It's 2 designated people and they each get 10, or is it divided among various people?
No, they each get 10, and they divide up the work, because
Okay.
they tend to be splitting who does the weekend stuff and who's getting that. Nicole, we get reimbursed. We're getting reimbursed for some, but not others. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're getting reimbursed for students that are sheltered in Burlington and attending Burlington schools.
And what happens when they have been in Acton, come to Burlington, and want to go back to Acton schools?
Acton's getting the dollars for those students.
So there's no transportation money provided to Burlington for transporting them?
No.
And do we do the transporting, or does Acton do it?
We split.
Split it, yeah.
Okay. Just one thing on the motion, Megan, could you make it 2 stipends? The beginning of the motion is 2 stipends, right?
Yeah, I'm reading the recommendation that the committee vote on 2 stipends for homeless transportation in the amount of $10,000 each for each employee for a total amount of $20,000.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just a clarification point. You said there's state money. Is it fully funded by the state? What's our burden? Is our district going to get more because we're one of the preferred shelter communities? Is it something that's been asked? I'm just trying to figure out where the cost burden's coming from.
We get money from the state on a per pupil basis, and then how we use that money is really up to us. And what we are finding is one of the burdens that we have is coordinating transportation. So we're looking to do that. We don't necessarily need the resources for other aspects of the school day that they have. Transportation is proving to be something that's significant for this population for us, I would say.
Okay.
Is that clear enough? I'm trying to...
Yeah, so you're saying, so the funding's coming from the state, this is how we're choosing to spend it?
Yeah, part of it. It's not, again, we have, there's more money than this, but this is we're really trying to spend
How we're dispersing the money that's
spend the money where it's needed. And so I think Gloria Watazik, our family and community person, is really looking to provide the students what they need. And then we're also finding, again, getting them to and from school, either in Burlington or somewhere else, is also something that we're spending a lot of time on.
Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next item has been postponed, or, yeah,
Table.
tabled. Facilities and Finance, Fox Hill Building Committee. Melissa?
We just met to enter into approve some contracts to enter into the next phase of detailed design with our consultants, and we're moving forward. I don't have too much.
Okay. I just want to say again, thank you to all those town meeting members that supported us. It was very rewarding, exciting, we're in a great place. Thrilled to be going forward with Fox Hill. Burlington High School, Catherine.
Yep, our next meeting is this Thursday at 6:30. And again, I know we did a presentation at town meeting, and I really hope people, got the information that they wanted. Please feel free to, again, dial into the meetings and look at the videos on the website. And again, we look forward to people participating and giving us input.
Madam Chair, may I just add, both Madam Chairs, I think the...
It's Madam's Chair.
Madam's Chair, the Dorn Whittier and Tape, the designer, I believe, are going to be having a community information session prior to Thanksgiving, so people should be sort of on the lookout for that. And then the other thing I wanted to, because the committee members would be attending, if you're in person or happen to be in person, the football game was moved from Friday night to Thursday because of the long weekend. It is here against Wilmington, so I wanted to warn you for traffic purposes, because the game is going to start at 6, but also if on your way out you want to catch some of the game, then just please, you have the, we'll make sure that we can make that happen. So, but there will be more traffic than normal Thursday evening.
Any other comments? I just have one comment about the Burlington High School Building Committee. We've been working so hard on Fox Hill that a lot of the energy has gone to Fox Hill, and now that it's been funded by town meeting, I think it's time that we can let loose and plow forward on the high school. It's an exciting project. We're in the very early stages of figuring out what we can do and choosing what to do, but it's an exciting project, and I'm really looking forward to getting going with it.
Again, I can reassure the committee that we've been getting going for a while, so we're looking forward to sharing that information. And again, I think there'll be some exciting updates on Thursday.
Going further with it. Okay. Pine Glen, anything new? The air conditioner is all set? Mulch is all set?
Yes, thank you. So all the air conditioners have been installed. They are working, which is good. The crews have taken all the equipment off the roof. There's no more flags up there. Again, the flags were there for safety, so nobody got close to the edge. Our maintenance department, along with the HVAC technicians, have gone through all of the classrooms to talk to all of the teachers to show them how the systems work. The systems are set up on an automatic basis, so similar to most systems that we have in our buildings. There's some thresholds for high and low limits, so people can't turn a room all the way up to 90, and they can't turn the air conditioning all the way down to 50. So they do run some programs on them. We do give a couple of degrees of leeway, so people who are cold or hot could adjust it that way. But basically, it's in set it, forget it mode for right now, and we will maintain and adjust those, obviously, as the winter gets colder to make sure they're running optimal. So great to report that those are up and running. And yeah, mulch is good over there. No, nothing else really for Pine Glen right now.
Just with an aside, again, I know we're talking about Pine Glen, but Bob, the tube work on the high school boilers was completed as well?
On 2 of the boilers complete, the 3rd one is almost finished. So that'll be done.
And we'll be ready then for, I know there's always
for the cold
concerns
season.
about the high school boilers, but we should be ready to go before the heating season starts in full.
One quick question on Pine Glen, on the splits that you put in the classrooms. How much do you expect them to be used for heat?
It really depends. So we have the option to either utilize them more and utilize the boiler less, or what we can do is continue to utilize the boiler and then utilize just the heat pumps for residual heat or for extra heat as needed.
Do you have a plan? Do you know, how do you think it'll go?
We're going to run them right now and look at some usage on them and see how efficient they are. And again, they're rated down to -10 degrees.
Yeah.
But at the same exact time, we don't have those heat pumps in every single room in the building, so we will need to use the boiler in some capacity anyways. right?
It
So
might
it
be
really just depends on in the classroom which ones we want to use, so how much throughput, right? So if we don't have to run the univent in every single classroom, that's not a high efficiency unit where the heat pump is. So we really just need to get a little bit more of that data, but actually see it in real-time use. The other thing, of course, is that the univents bring in fresh air, where the heat pumps do not bring in fresh air, so they're just going to recirculate air in there. So we still have to do a mix of both.
Okay. And do you think it'll push the electric bill up using them?
No, because we'll set some thresholds on them, so they won't be running simultaneously at the high capacity, right? So if it's drawing heat in the room already from the existing heat system, then those would go into standby mode. It would really just be for those cold days where we could use the extra heat.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else, Pine Glen? No? Transportation update?
Again, not a lot to update. Again, continuing to work with the bus company on finalizing routes. When I say finalizing, we're still making a couple of changes, trying to maximize the routes as much as possible. I know there was a conversation at the last meeting about providing an update on where the app is. I have nothing to report at this meeting, but the conversations are happening. Again, this app is not something that we own. It's something that, we are getting service with. So we're relying on that company to kind of put that plan in place to figure out what those milestones are. They have committed to an update cycle. The thing is that we need to figure out what are those milestones that they're actually trying to achieve, right? So currently they're looking for stability, and they're looking to make sure the app is functional as is. I know it's been brought to my attention from this committee and some parents, to add some functionality. So that's in their think about list, but they have not provided me a to-date list that says we will add these then. So I will update you at a future meeting, what that looks like once I have more information. But again, just to let you know, the conversations are happening.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on transportation?
I do. I'm just wondering what, if you could provide an update specifically on the high school. I'm still hearing that students are arriving late, especially bus 7, and about overcrowding on bus 18 still.
Well, yeah, I'll address it specifically. So I think that, I don't want to say urban legend, right? But people say, oh, I'm late, but we're actually on time. And I don't want to claim that the buses are early, right? So if the homeroom bell is at 8:40 and the buses are here before 8:40, they're on time. The thing is, what it doesn't give is students time to get, obviously, to either breakfast and or to their lockers and to whatnot, right? So we need to get better on that. The trouble is that it's tough to do that in the 20 minutes that we have between the tiers, right? So ultimately, we're kind of stuck in this pattern of we can get here at 8:33, 8:34, 8:37 for all 9 buses at the high school, but what we can't do is get here at 8:28 for all of our buses. Just the math isn't mathing on this, and getting across town isn't happening. So again, ultimately what ends up happening is that kids will end up having to go to the main office, having to get a pass so they can go to their homeroom. We're not marking them as tardy shore, but we just physically don't have enough time to allow the kids, the time that they need for their lockers and for breakfast.
Yeah, and before you move on to 18, I spoke to a parent today that said that they got a note saying that their child on bus 7 was absent, and it set off alarms, like, where's my student supposed to be at school? And the student was at school, but got a notification that their student, through Aspen, that their student was absent, and that was corrected. It was fixed, present. But, I mean, as a parent, you think your kid's at school, and you get a notice that they're absent because their bus was late. I'm hoping that we can come up with some sort of protocol or that prevents that heart attack for families wondering what happened to their child. I thought my child got on the bus. Kids are getting on the bus at that age on their own. That's not a notification I would like to get as a parent.
Okay. And you said that was from Aspen that got the notification, so that means attendance took place,
yeah.
And then, okay.
Hasn't happened often, but it only takes that one time.
Okay. All right. Again, I just want to bring to the committee, so conversations that I'm having with the bus company, put us in a predicament because there's a couple of solutions that I don't believe the town would like, I would like, I don't believe the committee would like. Some of those solutions would involve adding additional buses, right, which would help reduce the burden, right, would help distribute the efficiency across, the routes. As far as capacity goes, capacity is a conversation that, we look at similar to in classrooms, right? So we have capacity for more people on the bus, but we're calling a bus that has 54 to 60 full. I understand that high school kids are larger. I would say similar to a mid-size sedan or similar to an SUV, the back seat has 3 seat belts, and while it's not comfortable, this isn't a 4-hour trip. This is a 20-minute ride to school. That being said, 60 kids on a bus is not ideal, but if they're close to evenly distributed amongst that, we're at that capacity level where we need to consider, if 60 is acceptable for us, and if it's not, then that threshold is going to bring us to, like I said, either reducing the number of kids that ride on the bus, which I don't believe is the committee's, decision, or path. But then we may have to consider adding another bus. So like I said, that is something that we're discussing right now to look at. Right. But it's something that we have to think about long-term, but in the short term, make a decision, because that's the reality of what we're at right now.
And again, through the chair, Bob, did they say they would have a bus and a driver? Because that was also something that you and I had discussed, is even if we wanted to present an ad, whether they could provide it or not would be something that we'd have to discuss too, right?
Yeah, so they're confident that they could add the driver, but they don't have the commitment from us yet to say yes. But that is something that, like I said, is not in place. They don't have a person sitting around waiting to drive a bus. But they believe that given that this would more than likely only be a morning route for the time being, that they could make this happen. Again, just to put it out there, that I would say the morning route is a now conversation, but I would obviously consider that, we have 3 tiers. So then it may open the door to use that on other tiers as well too, which would obviously cost more time, and then would be a consideration about employing a full-time driver.
Right, because as we talked about, none of this is disconnected, or everything is connected, right? So the participation in the breakfast program is going to depend if we can get kids there in time for breakfast, and that's true at the middle school and at the high school. This committee has asked us to expand after-school opportunities at the middle school, so we've done a good job adding, there's a cross-country team, and the team wants to compete, and we can't get a bus to, again, take the kids to the middle school cross-country team, because the middle school is ending at 2:30, and the buses are still running for the high school in Francis Wyman. So we're having to pay to transport the kids in other ways. Yep. So it may be possible for us to add a bus and then to offset some of those costs with the other expenses that we're having trying to get kids to some things after school. So we are looking at it, but it's not like they have a bus and waiting for us. So that's the challenge here.
Yeah. Jeremy.
So this would be an in-scope amendment, and then what's the cost?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But do we have any idea of what adding a bus would cost?
No, we do know. I mean, so we have a daily rate in the contract. A full day is $444, and a half day is $222.
448.
I'm sorry, my apologies. $448 and $224.
Catherine.
But then you said that we might see some savings from all the other, I guess it's kind of like understanding what we're spending money on to get, kids to the other sporting events. So it's kind of the cost balance of adding something, and I'm not going to say savings, but, how are we balancing that out if we're not paying the extra for the other? So can we see the differential?
Again, there might be 5 meets, so it's not necessarily an equivalent, but it's the opportunity that I'm sort of frustrated with more so. Again, I'm not sure we're going to offset the cost, but it's anyway, go ahead. So I'll let you.
No, that's all I was going to say. As far as savings go, I mean, there's a daily rate up until the end of the tier, and then any activities for music, athletics, field trips, et cetera, are included in the contract, but at a different price. Right, so we would still pay for that. So whether we use the bus in the morning for the half a day, and then if we chose to use it in the afternoon to be the second half a day, and then if we chose to use it for a meet or an athletic event, there would be the athletic event rate, right? So we would still pay for that event. What we wouldn't save money because we would be adding a cost for the additional bus in the morning. What we would hopefully save is a little bit of time by dispersing the number of riders on each and reducing the number of stops on each run. One bus in the morning is not going to solve 9 buses efficiency problems, but it may help us 2, 3, 4 buses relieve, 3, 4 stops on each bus, which maybe can pick us up on our slower buses 4 or 5 minutes. And if we can gain 4 or 5 minutes on 3, 4 buses, that would be a win that is measurable, right?
Go ahead.
I would really like to see re-optimize routes before we started looking at an additional bus. I'm very confident. I know we asked for it and they gave us a rinse and repeat of last year's routes. And if we, like you said, reduce 3 or 4 stops, like the stops are what add time, especially high school students should be able to walk a couple more houses. There's 4 stops at the Arboretum. I think if we consolidated some stops and really took a hard look at rerouting some of these buses, we might, it doesn't solve maybe some of the crowding, but it certainly could solve some of the timing.
Again, I would be 100% willing to make this happen. I've had this conversation with the bus company, but it requires a commitment from this committee and the town and the families to accept those changes. So I can give you a bus route, and the bus company can give us a bus route where kids are walking 25 houses, 5 streets, et cetera, et cetera. But again, as a community, we have to accept that new route.
But we haven't seen.
But I'm saying I think that's the conversation that we need to have, right? So if we want to see a route that has, instead of 15 stops, that has 8, we can give that, right? And then we can actually give you the time. But the point I'm making is that what the committee is asking for? Because I can definitely research that, but at the same exact time, knowing that I've seen a lot of requests for additional stops be addressed, in the past few years, this year, et cetera, I would be reluctant to ask the bus company to give me reduced routes that have less stops. But again, obviously at the will of this committee, I will do all that you request.
I'd like to make a comment. I don't see anyone else's hand up at the moment. I think we've had a lot of years now with issues at the high school we had to change the time. We have kids getting there just in time if they race to homeroom. They can't go to the lockers. They can't go and get breakfast. Those are all things that they should be able to do. They deserve to be able to do those things. And if there are a whole lot of big kids on a bus and it's too many, and the bus is therefore crowded, and they're not going to jam 3 into a seat because they're just not. They're at that age where they're not going to do it. My personal opinion, I speak only for myself, is if we can solve that with another bus, I don't know what we're waiting for. Because I want the kids to be comfortable enough on the bus. I mean, not, we're not going to get coaches, but we want enough room on the bus for the kids. We want to get them to school on time so that they can do what they need to do without racing, without feeling stressed out. And if we as a committee can solve that problem with another bus, I mean, I would have done it 5 years ago instead of changing the time, or even if it had to have a time change, I still would have done the bus to make it easier for the kids. And I understand Melissa's point, and she's being very pragmatic, and she economy-wise, sure, maybe you could have the kids walk further to the bus stops, but,
I'm also not hearing that one bus solves everything
I was
either.
just going to comment on that, but I'll go in a second, yeah.
Okay.
all right, but you do think it would help?
I think one bus would help relieve 3 concerns we have between 54 and 60 kids on a bus, and I do think it would be the 3 buses that only have between 3 and 5 minutes of time once they unload to get their morning needs done. I do not think that one bus in the morning is going to allow every kid at Burlington High School 15 minutes or even 10 full minutes to get to their locker and to get breakfast done. So if we want to address crowding and give a few minutes of wiggle room, one bus could make a dent. If we want to address breakfast and time in the locker rooms here, a larger conversation and more than one bus is going to be needed for that. The biggest issue with needing that is the time between the tiers. If you look at Pine Glen Fox Hill Memorial at an 8:10 homeroom and a high school 8:40, it's 30 minutes between tiers. If anyone wants to drive from the middle school to 4th Ave, pick up 15 stops, and then get back to the high school, 30 minutes.
Happening.
I'd love to see it happen. I mean, that's just, at 8 o'clock in the morning, not happening.
And one other point is, the high school kids already walk further to their bus stops.
Within reason. We have our problem roads regardless of, so we're always going to have the Cambridge Streets, the Wynn Streets.
Right,
the
but based
62s,
on
et cetera.
personal experience, I know that the bus stop that was close to someone's house in elementary and middle school is now, you walk all the way out to the main road. And so I think we already do that to some
We
extent.
do expect high school
And-
students to walk further.
And to the extent that we can tighten things up, sure, that's a great idea, but we've tried, and this has just gone on for several years, and all I'm saying is, if you come up with a plan that helps even a little, I'm voting for it. Anyone else?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think Melissa did too. We got to understand the opportunity cost of both of these and do that kind of analysis, go, okay, hey, if we optimize routes, we can save 5 to 8 minutes. If we add 2 buses, we can save the same amount of time. Obviously, the no-cost option makes more sense, but I think it's beneficial to look at both and just then we slap the table and say which one we want to pay for or don't.
Correct, and then through the chair, I think what Bob was also saying is then there's going to be some folks who have to change their stops, and they're going to call you, and we have to say that this is a plan to optimize the ride for everybody and stick to it.
And I think it's a defendable decision, right? Because what we're really trying to do is get the kids the time to get to their lockers, to get breakfast, and take advantage of all the services we provide here. And I mean, I think it's pretty easy for me to defend that and say, I'm trying to do, but with this vote, trying to help your kids get to class, get breakfast if they need it, and, get there on time and not be, running up the stairs at a full sprint.
I appreciate that. I'm just saying, I think it's going to be a
gonna be a
combination
conflict for
of, it's going to be a combination of things, and we can certainly bring that, we can bring some of those back to you, so.
Through the chair, I think that families aren't going to see it as a level serviced option. I think they'll see the savings, but they won't feel that the service that we're providing is the same because the kids are walking further. There's, when it's wintertime, there's ice, there's lots of other concerns. So I think that we'll definitely get a lot of phone calls and something that we have to consider as we choose which route to take, no pun intended.
I don't think the cost is prohibitive either. I mean, it's not enough money, my opinion, that we shouldn't do it if it makes things work better. So, but again, I speak for myself only. Okay, anything else? It seems like we've come to new or old business. Anyone have any new or old business?
Just going to reaffirm my request that we push that capital plan through for 2024 to meet Ways and Means and vote on it at some point here in the near future, like the next meeting or the one after that, so we can meet Ways and Means planning schedule.
How many years do you want in this plan?
The 20-year plan. Again, we're saying this is the 2024 plan. Things can move year over year, but at some point we have to give Ways and Means a final product to start budgeting against.
I think if you shortened the term, it would be more realistic, but whatever. Whatever you guys want to bring to us, we'll either approve it or not approve it.
Yep.
Okay, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.